Hello, this is Lisa with Quilting Block of the Month Facebook group, and this block for this time is the bear's paw. It will finish at 12 inches. Before it's unfinished, it's 12.5 inches. To start, what we're going to need is in your main color, your yellow in my example, and for the points on the bear, claws on the bear, the purple is on mine. Those squares are going to need to be 6.5 by 6.5, and you're going to need 2 of those. You're going to need in the pink, or which is the center paw of your claw of your foot, is going to be a 4 by 4 inch squares, and you will need 4 of those. You will need in the same color as your paws for the center of the design here. You'll need a 2 by 2 inch square. In the same color as your main background color, mine in the yellow, you're going to need 4 strips of 2 inch by 5 3/4 inch, and you're going to need 4 2.25 by 2.25 inch squares. Those are going to be your corner squares, and then your strips along here. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to start with our 6.5 inch squares. You're going to take one of each color, put them right sides together. Okay, with the right sides together, best thing to do is put your lighter color up to the front. And there's 2 ways that we're going to do this. Basically, we're going to be stitching down from a diagonal to diagonal, and we're going to be doing on both sides. You can simply take your ruler, come here, take a pin, draw a line down the middle, and then you're going to stitch on side to side of that. The other way you can do it, and I love these 1/2 inch rulers, is you can get one of these 1/2 inch rulers, you lay it down the center with your line, the center line to your points, and then you simply just draw on both sides of the ruler. And then you're going to, those are going to be your lines to stitch versus having one down the middle that you stitch on either side. Kind of depends on which kind of ruler that you prefer. And then you would just turn the ruler the other direction, line it up, and draw your lines. So you'll either have a single line both directions that you'll stitch on both sides, or you'll have the double lines that you'll stitch right along the line on there. You stitch right on the line or just on the inside of the line, for whichever way you want. And so, as you can see here, I've just got the single lines, and you're just going to stitch along there. Okay, so as you stitch, as you can see here, I've stitched down each side. You see it on the lines, I've stitched on each of these lines, both directions. Then what we're going to do is you're going to take a ruler and you're going to go down those center lines, down the middle from one side to the other side. And cut, and then rotate, and you're going to do it down the other side as well, or down the other direction as well. And you're going to cut like this. Do not move them at this point because we're not done with the cutting. Because what we're going to want to do is we're also going to want to cut across both directions. So lay your ruler this way and going across. Kind of look at your lines, make sure you're lining up straight there, straight here, and going right through the crisscross of where your line's stitched. Right there. And then you'll just cut straight across, lift up, and do the same thing here. Kind of look at those crossing lines there, making sure on each side my ruler lines up. And I cut. So now I've cut that piece into 8 half square triangles. Now, the best thing to do is to measure these up and square them up to the right size. I like to use my favorite tool, which is the Quilt in a Day half square triangle ruler. It makes it so much easier for doing it because you got your 1.5, your 2.5, your 3.5, your 1, 2, 3, and all up. And this is a 6.5 inch ruler. So basically, you're just going to take these aside, And you're going to lay it down. And we want to square these up to... Okay. So again, line it up on the 2 1/4 inch cut. Because I made my initial squares too big, that gave me too much extra room to trim off. And then just fold it over, and you'll just trim up your dog ears. So you got your dog ears, got it here. If you don't have a ruler like that, the Quilt in a Day ruler, you can use just a regular ruler. And preferably one that has a diagonal line on it. And then you can just line up here. And if yours is a diagonal line through here, you're 1 1/4, 1 1/4 there. Then just take your rotary cutter and just cut it. And then you would rotate it around and do the same thing with the other side till you've got your square. And then go ahead and do that to all 18 of your squares, having them all 2 1/4 inches squares. Okay, the next section we're going to do, you're going to repeat this 4 times. So you're going to make the same process of 4 times, creating this part of the paw. So you're going to need your pink square, or you're going to put a yellow square here. And then all your half square triangles, you're going to have them facing downward towards your pink. And so here, and then on this side, again, the longer part of the purple against the pink. And like this. So that's your first step. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to sew this into a couple sections. First thing we're going to do is we're going to sew these 3 pieces here together. Seams together, and you're going to sew these 2 pieces here together. So like this, and like this. And so now you've got the beginning. You're going to press your seams. And I press them open like this, upward on this one. On these, I kind of put them towards the solid piece, your solid square. It's just less bulk, because you don't have, in these corners of folding them, you only really have that one bulky corner there. Then, once you've pressed those, oops, you're going to flip this piece over here, line it up, and you're going to sew your 1/4 inch seam here. So you got your press piece here, you've got this one here, and again I kind of pressed it towards the big piece because there's less bulk in it. So now you've got your piece set up like this. Now the final thing is you're going to fold these over. What you're going to do is you're going to take these 2 seams right here, it's the only one you've really got to match, and nest them together, and then just sew your 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way down, and then you'll press it open. Again, I pressed it inward towards the solid color just as there's less bulk there. You can open these seams up and to do it that way if you choose, kind of however way you want. And then once you got it all nice and neat and pressed, you've got 4 of these. And you'll need to repeat 4 of these for the 4 corners. Okay, when you've got the 4 of these done, the first one you're going to take is you're going to take one of these strips here, these 2 inch by 5 3/4, and you're going to attach to this. The best thing before you do that is to square this up to 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. Just take your ruler and make sure that you're going diagonally right down. If you've got a line diagonal on your ruler, which works great, in the point, kind of meet there and go there, and then you just simply take your rotary cutter, cut across the top, cut across the side, and then you can just rotate it back around to the other side. Make sure you've got your 5 3/4 and 5 3/4 and square those up as well. Only one of mine came to exactly 5 3/4. The others were a hair bit off. And it's just all in your seam allowance. If your seam allowances are a little too big, then your block will be a little bit smaller. But so you're going to take these two pieces, and you're going to lay this piece like this, and you're going to put this on here, and you're just going to sew up a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then you're going to press it open like this. So I've got the 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I folded it open. Because next what we're going to do is you're going to take the little square piece, the 2 inch square, and then another strip, and you're going to sew these together, press them open. Okay, after you've got it sewn and pressed open, when you're pressing it, you need to take one thing into consideration. It's going to go along the bottom here, and you're going to want to be able to nest your seams here. So when you press it open, look at the direction that your big square here is going and how your little square is going. So usually if you press it toward, if you're pressing this outward, then you're going to want to press this direction, so that when you fold them together, they nest perfectly. And then you will just sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance on down this. While you're at it, grab another one of these squares, and you're going to want to take, and you're going to want to put one of the 2 by 5 3/4 inch pieces down here. The best way to do it is lay it towards this one, because you're going to sew these 2 pieces together. So you're going to want it down on this part here. Okay, so after you've got them sewn, just press them open. Now one thing you need to take into account is where you're going to stitch these 2 pieces here, and we're going to want to nest them. So you need to make sure that if you press one out, this out towards the yellow, that the other yellow you push in towards the paw, just so that we can get these 2 seams to nest here nice and smooth. Okay, so now we've got that part there for your block. Just make sure you press it nice and neat, whichever direction you want to. It will matter when we match up the other half of it, but at the moment it won't. So now take your other 2 pieces, and because these are going to be your top part of the other half of your paws, you're going to line them up in this order here. Then you're just going to simply turn this over, stitch a 1/4 inch seam here, open it up, flip this one over here, and do a 1/4 inch seam allowance here, and then press open, or open it up and press. Okay, so once you've sewn these together and you've pressed them, make sure you look at your other piece and see which way your seams are pressing, so that you make sure that you do these opposite, so that you can take these and you can match your center squares up here and just kind of clip. Yeah, clip. Just clip your pieces kind of here, match up your ends. And then just sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way down, and then just press your block open, and you've completed the Bear's Paws block for this month. Please make sure you take your pictures and post them on our Facebook group so that everybody can enjoy them. And we do have the instructions on lisascompassion.wordpress.com website. If you want to download the paper printed instructions to save to your computer or print to use, that is completely up to you. The steps may be a little different than the video. I try to stay the same way, but sometimes they change. But just let me know. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them on our Facebook group. Thank you. Have a great day.